I wasn't doing anything special that afternoon. Just a walk home with oranges in my tote and a podcast half finished when the cruiser slid across the lane in Clearwater Ridge and the lights snapped on like a dare. Doors flew open. A tall one with a jaw like a cinder block looked me up and down and said, "Afternoon, ma'am. Where exactly do you think you're going?" The other one circled wide, casual like a man choosing a seat at a bar. People paused on porches. A kid froze with a basketball under his arm. And me, I took a breath, kept my voice even, and said, "Home." He smirked like the word offended him. ID, he hadn't asked for a reason, hadn't told me why, just ID. "You don't have cause," I told him. I didn't raise my voice, didn't let my hands do anything that could be mistaken for a mistake. The smaller one laughed under his breath. "Look at that. Knows the law," and the tall one stepped in close enough that I could smell his coffee. "Out here," he said, tapping his badge. "I'm the law." Phones were already up. Neighbors who had learned the choreography: stand still, press, record, pray no one gets shot. He shoved me, shoulder first, hard enough that the bag tore and a couple oranges skittered into the gutter. Folks gasped, not because they hadn't seen this movie, but because they had too many times. I pushed to my feet, lips split, the copper taste like a bell in my mouth. I squared my shoulders. "Are you suspicious of me?" I asked, simple, steady, "because I'm black or because I'm carrying groceries?" The big one's grin went cold. "Here's how this goes," he said, voice low. "You kneel or you go to jail." Kneel. That word landed like old dust on church pews, heavy, familiar, meant to shrink you down to fit somebody else's story. I looked past him to the phones, to a mom holding a child tight to a kid with both hands trembling around his screen. "You're going to regret this," I told him. Not a shout, more like a weather report. He kicked quick and mean right in the gut. Air rushed out of me, knees hit asphalt, palms scraped raw. The other one yanked at my shoulders, metal clicked close to my ears, and for a second the world narrowed to heat and grit, and the absurd thought that my best oranges were rolling away. A chant started soft film everything, and then the tall one leaned on the back of my neck like he was pressing me into the ground to plant me there. "Enough." I said it first in my head, then out loud, and the word felt like a switch. I slid my left knee under me, rotated on my hips, grabbed the wrist that had the cuff, and used his weight the way they taught us in another life. I don't advertise leverage, not muscle. He went over the surprise louder than his curse face to pavement. The cuffs clanged out of his hand and into mine, and I didn't think I just moved one click. Two. His wrists were the ones wearing steel now. The smaller one froze baton, shaking between options. The street went quiet, the kind of quiet that grins before it roars. Then it roared. She flipped him. "Justice, don't touch her." I stood breath, sawed thin eyes on the second cop. "Don't," I said. He lunged anyway. Ego's a stubborn engine, so I pivoted, swept his knee, guided his momentum down. He hit hard, hands splayed, and a second later, he was kneeling, because physics said so, not me. The chant rose from surprise to a drum, face down in shame, over and over, louder than the siren that was already sharpening at the end of the block. Something slid out of my shirt collar in the shuffle metal, small, scratched up from years of pockets and sand. It clinked against the asphalt, spun, and came to rest in a smear of orange juice and blood. A challenge coin, Special Operations Command. A piece of a past I don't lead with, because a resume never saved anyone on sidewalks like this. Phone zoomed in. Somebody whispered, "She's soft, holy." The kneeling cop's eyes found the coin and went wide. I picked it up, wiped it once against my sleeve. "Doesn't matter who I am," I said, looking them both in the face. "To you, I'm just suspicious." Backup fanned out shields, barking, a kid with fresh fear on his stubbled face and a gun that looked too big for his hands. "Drop it," he yelled at nothing I was holding. People yelled back. "She's unarmed, but panic has its own volume." The shot cracked like a door slam nobody can take back. Fire bloomed in my shoulder, bright, blinding, but I didn't fall. I couldn't. I stepped into him, grabbed the wrist with the recoil still buzzing through it, twisted, took him down to his knees because it was safer for everyone if his hands were where gravity could see them. "You can shoot me," I told him, breath ragged, "but I won't kneel." The street turned into the internet, live bubbles, popping viewer counts, sprinting captions racing across screens. By the time the EMTs pushed through, my shirt was soaked. My teeth were chattering, and I was smiling just a little at a girl who held her phone like a lantern. I wanted her to see that some things don't break. Hospitals are supposed to smell like bleach and mercy. My room smelled like metal and lies. Two men came in wearing white coats and the wrong kind of calm. Their eyes didn't do it. The quick inventory doctors do: pain, pulse, pupil. One checked the IV, the other held a syringe like a promise. I kept my eyes half closed, let my breath stay slow, counted 3 more beats than I had, and when the needle came for the vein, I went up and sideways. The tray clattered. He flinched. His hand jerked. I took the pole from the stand and used it the way you use anything when you want to keep breathing. The door flew open to a nurse screaming and security stumbling, and the only thing that mattered in the room was the phone in her hand and the sentence she said out loud: "They tried to kill her." That sentence saved my life more than once. By morning, my name, well, the version people think is mine, was on every crawl in Chiron. Not because I'm special, because the video was undeniable. A woman walking home, humiliated, shot, refusing to kneel, making the men who demanded it kneel instead. The department held a pracer, all careful words and missing nouns. "We will investigate this incident," the spokesperson said, like a man stapling a bandage to a flood. People didn't buy it. They posted March-painted cardboard until their hands cramped. Clearwater Ridge sounded like percussion pans, chants, car horns, hope. That's when Monica Hale walked into my hospital room. No white coat, no fake calm. Federal attorney sleeves pushed up a folder too thick to be anything but trouble. "Zara Miles," she said, using a name that's lived at the bottom of my sock drawer. "We're not fighting 2 officers, we're fighting a machine." She put down the folder like a gavel. "If you're willing, I'll carry this into court, onto TV, all the way to Congress if we have to." Before I could answer, a man slipped in, a little hunched hair, salt and pepper, like somebody who forgot how to sleep. He set a canvas pouch on the table, stood with his hands not quite steady. "Name's Ethan Ward," he said, voice a rasp. "I served with some of the folks who trained you. I can't keep this to myself." A hard drive thumped onto the wood. We plugged it in. What came up on the screen was rot that had learned to stand upright: warehouse rooms, badges catching bad light, men on concrete floors, paperwork bent into weapons. The kind of footage people call alleged when they can't stand to say "we knew." Monica took one step back and covered her mouth. "This isn't misconduct," she said, throat tight. "It's a program." We sat in the beep and hum and fluorescent hush of that room and watched truth at frame rate. Every clip was a nail, every name a knot in my jaw. I pressed my palm to the bandage, felt the heat, let the pain clear space. "We begin the hunt," I said plain. "Chain of custody, protected witnesses, federal subpoenas. The whole tree, not just the rotten fruit." Monica nodded. "It'll get worse before it gets better," she said. "For you, most of all." I shrugged with the shoulder that would allow it. "I've seen worse. I'm still here." Outside, the city gathered itself into a single throat. People made space on sidewalks for strangers. Kids learned new chants. Old men shook loose old stories. Posters went up my face I barely recognized, a little blood and a lot of stubborn, a coin, shining in a smear under the words, "Justice doesn't bow." News desks filled with former this and current that arguing cause and consequence. Somewhere somebody said the quiet part: if a decorated veteran isn't safe walking home, who is? The men who first stopped me lawyered up. The rookie who fired cried on a recording I didn't hear. The department tried to put the story in a drawer marked isolated, but people kept opening the drawer again and again until the bottom fell out. More videos leaked, some from Ethan's drive, some from places we didn't expect. Families crawled out of silence. Names we never learned now had faces, faces with birthdays. I don't know how the court fights end. I know how sidewalks feel when a city decides to hold itself accountable, heavy and light at the same time. I know how it felt to taste blood and say, I won't kneel. And I know that afternoon started like 100 afternoons and turned into one none of us will forget. You want me to dress it up? I can't. It was ugly, scary, ridiculous, wholly like watching a storm strip a crooked billboard down to the screws and seeing sky where an ad used to be. So tell us, where do you land on this? Do you think power bends only when it's forced, or can it learn? Can it listen? Have you seen something like this on your block, in your school, in a room with no cameras? What do you call it when someone tells you to kneel so they don't have to look you in the eye? Drop your story in at the comments. Call out what's right, what's wrong, what you'd change if it were you on that asphalt. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend who says it's complicated. Maybe it is, but justice shouldn't be.